Hello everyone, this is Ahmed, and this is going to be a quick mini videos that are going to be addressing how to get started in creating a project on Atom or Visual Studio Code for those who have been using Visual Studio Code on the previous years and they just want to stick to it. It's more comfortable to them. So I'm going to show you how to do that, and I'm going to give you a brief demonstration on what we have done inside the lab, inside the first lab, for those who didn't attend it or for those who didn't really remember what we actually did. And finally, there's going to be a last two videos. The first one is going to be how to push things into GitHub and how to pull or clone things from GitHub. It's going to be a mini crash course on GitHub and getting GitHub, you know. And finally, there's going to be a video on how can you sync up things, how can you sync up your workspace from your laptop with the workspace that maybe you will find yourself creating on a PC in the university. Maybe you do not want to bring your laptop all the time. So what happens if you start working on something on your laptop and you want to continue working on this specific project folder in the university on the PC? How can we sync up the two workspaces? I'm going to show you these things. So first off, let's start by talking about the material that we have so far. By this point, I believe that most of you have downloaded the first environment setup manual, and I think most of you have downloaded Atom and the necessary packages. And for those who are willing to stick to Visual Studio Code, I'm going to tell you what are the equivalent packages that you can download in Visual Studio Code in order to get things up and running the same as we've done on Atom. And finally, you're gonna need to install Git Bash. For anyone who did the fourth step successfully, meaning that if you are inside Atom and you press something like Control and tilde, you should see the Git Bash terminal opening embedded inside of your editor. If you didn't do this fourth step correctly, then you can just type, not this one, you can just search for Git Bash, and you should see the terminal opening in a standalone version like that, and this is totally fine. You don't have to embed it inside Atom. If you want to, and if you do not know how to do that, or maybe you followed the steps and it didn't work, just contact me and we're gonna figure this out together. So I'm assuming that this has been done, the instruction manual for the installation, the first part of the setup. And let's just go really quickly about the first activity. The first activity was to do something. I'm not sure that the first link is open. Yeah, it's working. So I just included another link just in case if the first one wasn't working. So the first activity was to do something like this. It's basically just some HTML tags, the same ones that we've taken in the lecture, with a slight touch of, as you're seeing here, the colors and stuff like that. That's inline CSS. All right. So there is going to be a video that I'm going to drop that is going to be the solution for this activity, and most of you have actually submitted this on GitHub, and some people have actually invited me as a collaborator, and I really encourage who hasn't done this activity to do it and push things into GitHub and invite me as a collaborator, because I need to see your progress. One thing that I noticed that not all of you did this, you know, when you hover over the link, you should see something. You should see some kind of a tooltip. This is what's it's called. It's called tooltip. So a tooltip is basically something that whenever you hover like that, you see some kind of a data that is relevant to the link that you should be taken to. Anyways, I'm going to show you how to do this. It's really easy. So let's get started with how are we going to create a project folder in Atom. First of all, let's just go to the tree of directories. You should have this kind of a tree of directory for the first week, and it's going to grow with you along the weeks of this semester in this course. So I'm just going to create a folder that is called the course, the code of the module and your name. I've already created that, but I'm just going to create another one just to illustrate what are we going to do now. So let's just say KH and 4056. And finally, my name. Okay, so this is the first folder. As you are seeing here, you're gonna see something like week 1 and lecture activities, if there's anything that is gonna be taken in the lecture and lab activities. And finally, the number of activities that is going to be asked from you to do inside the lab or / the lecture. In the first week, we only had one activity, which is basically this website. We didn't have anything else, but if we had multiple activities, you're going to have an activity for each folder. I think you know the drill now. So I'm just going to create a folder for week 1, and notice I do not need you to make any spaces. This is going to be making things tougher on us in the future. We're going to have double quotes around everything. So just remove any white spaces in your naming. So this is week 1, and this is the lecture activities, and another one for the lab activities, right? And inside the lab activities, we have the activity 1, right? And you're gonna see that mine is going to be a little different. The tree of directories that I'm going to follow is going to be a little bit different, where I will add a folder that is called illustration, just to demonstrate things in front of you inside the lab or in the videos. So you don't have to have this folder in your tree directory. You don't have to create this illustration one. That's just something that I will do. But anyways, this is the tree of directory that we will have. All right. So we are going to start by including the root folder in Atom. So you can easily do this via this button right there, or you can just type Control-Shift-A. I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to run a program that actually shows the key bindings that I write in the script. All right, so as I was saying, you can just hit on this add folder, or let's just, from now on, let's just use the shortcuts as much as we can. So you can press on Control-Shift-A, and this is going to open up Control-Shift-A. This is going to open up a folder that you can choose, right? Or you can just hit add folder from there. Right, so I'm just going to choose my root folder, which is the one that I've just created, this one, and select folder. And you're gonna see that this root folder has opened for you, right? And you can do the same thing from file, add project folder. It's the same thing. You can even see the key binding here. But anyways, let's just go to the illustration, and I'm going to add a new file. See, I've just hit right click on the folder that I want to create the file in. Maybe you are adding some files into your activity folder. Where did we create this one? So maybe you would want to add some HTML files into this one, into the activity. So you're just gonna right click on new folders and stuff. So I'm just gonna stick to this one, an illustration, right click, new file. I'm just going to name this index.html. Okay, I'm going to put this on the side. And for those who are using Atom, you can stick to the old convention by writing the layout of your HTML pages manually like this, right? And what do we have else? We have the head. This is the opening tag. And finally, we have the closing tag, and we have also the body, which the whole of the layout is going to be included. I see this is getting ugly by the minute, so see this key bindings, but anyways, let's just have it there. So we can align things. So I can just have this like that, and the body and the head in the same line, the same alignment. So you can just write this manually, or you can just remove all of that and just type HTML and hit on this green one right there, and it's going to create everything for you. Notice this meta tag. We haven't talked about the meta tag at all. I'm going to mention it really briefly. I didn't mention anything regarding the meta tag inside the lab, because the lecture, Dr. Yasser didn't mention the meta tag, and I didn't really want to waste so much time inside the lab. But I'm going to tell you what exactly does this meta tag means. Anyways, this is the layout, right? And this means that we are following HTML5. That's this dog type tag right there, right? Anyways, let's just add a title real quick. So let's just say website, right? And let's add something. Let's add just any text, like let's add an H1, and let's say my first page. Okay. So if you want to run this, and if you want to see the actual website, you have one of two ways. The first one, which is the traditional one, you can just go to where this index.html is. You can traverse this from the from this PC, right, from the file explorer, and go to wherever you have made this folder, or you can just right click on this file and choose show in explorer. You're gonna see that this is gonna open up like that, and from there you can double click on this index.html. Let me just grab this to the right and grab this to the left. And you're gonna see the content right there. One downside is that whenever you add some stuff, right? Notice that whenever you add anything inside the index.html on the editor side, you're gonna have this blue circle. It means that you need to save. This is unsaved. These changes are not tracked yet, so we just need to Control S. And one thing that you're gonna notice whenever you click on Control S or File and Save, right? You're not gonna see anything inside the browser. So the traditional way is a little bit annoying. You're gonna need to go there and reload every time you do any changes in order to see the result. A better way to do that is actually to follow what we installed earlier, which is the Atom Live server. You're gonna see that the Atom Live server is there from packages. Most of the time it's the first one that you're gonna see. So you can just hit and start server. And this is gonna open a new tab in your browser, and notice something. This is what we call the root folder, right? So this slash here means that currently we are inside the root folder, which is this one, the code of the module followed by the name of the student or name of the individual. So this is the root folder that we are in. This is the root folder. That's what this slash means, okay? So inside this root folder, we only have one folder, which is week. So you can enter week 1, all right? And from week 1, where do we want to host or preview our HTML page? Where is our HTML page located? In my case, it's located inside illustration, right? And it is index.html. Notice that by default, most of the live servers, or most of the servers in general is targeting something called an index.html. So by default, if you added another thing just to make sure that you are targeting this specific index.html that you want to host, you can just type it in the URL like that, and it's going to be the same as doing this, the same as just typing a slash. So the live server, the Atom Live server, understands that you are targeting the index.html. So that word, the index here, this word is not something that I've created. It is known for servers, for web servers. They understand that there is a root file that needs to be hosted that most of the time it's called index. All right. If you made this something like home.html, like let me just stop the live server and let me show you something. Okay. So let us delete that file. Let's create a new one. Let's call it home.html, and let us create another one, about.html. Okay. So let's just put this here, and let's have a head about, and let's have here this like that, home. Okay, and let us run the live server one more time, and let's go to week 1. Notice something. Whenever we go to the illustration, which has these two files, now it's going to tell you which one do you want to open. If it found the index by default, it's going to open up the index.html by default, because as I've told you, the index, this word is like a reserved word for web servers. So the web server actually uses these files that start with an index prefix, and they just start by hosting them by default. So if the live server didn't find any index.html, it's just gonna provide you with the HTML files that you have inside the folder, and you get to choose which one do you want to host. And in our case, we want to host this one, maybe the home, to just see how things are, right? All right, anyways, so continuing, if you did any changes in your script and you hit Control S, you're gonna see that changes appearing in real time. Once you just like made the save here, it's gonna appear on the right hand side. You don't have to go and refresh and reload. It's just gonna hear whatever changes you're gonna make as long as you save. Okay, so this is the beauty of using a live server. There is another thing that I've asked you to download, which is basically something called, on the packages, I think you have downloaded this, it's called HTML preview. Atom HTML preview. All right. So what if you wanted to see the changes? What if you wanted to have a look of your HTML page inside Atom? You do not want to open the browser and go back and forth between the browser and the editor. So this is going to serve you really well in this manner. So you can just click on Control-Shift-H like that, and it's going to open up the HTML preview embedded inside your Atom editor, right? And it's the same thing. Whenever you make any changes, right? I think it doesn't really need you to make any saving. There is no saving needed to show the changes here. But anything that you've typed, anything that you'll type here is going to appear in the embedded preview. If you do not want to use the shortcut, which is Control-Shift-H, you can go to Packages, and I think it's called, Enable Preview. I'm not really sure, but let's just stick to using the shortcut, which is Control-Shift-H, like that. And you have three ways: the traditional one, the live server, and the embedded HTML preview. Okay. One thing I thought that I might tell you before ending this video, going back to the live server one, see, if I go back to this illustration, okay, it's going to tell you that you have two files, right? The home and the about, right? So what if we wanted to host and preview the home? You're going to click on home. What if you wanted to, you know, go to the about? You can either click on back right like this and go to the about, or from the home, like this is the URL or the route, as we say, for the home.html. If you want to go to the about, you can just say about.html, because nothing is going to be different. You know that this is going to be the route. You know that the route is inside the root folder, which contains the week one, which contains the illustration, or whatever the folder name in your case, which contains the about.html. Okay, so this is a very important note that we are going to really need when we get to the PHP part. Right, for those who want to work on Visual Studio Code, let me just close all of these. We can go to Visual Studio Code, and let me show you how can you get started. You will just need to open up a folder, the project folder. So I'm just going to say open folder from there. And the folder, I've created this folder at the beginning of the video, so I'm just going to pick that one, which is basically this, the course name and my name, or the course code and my name. So let's just select the folder. And you're going to see this is the root folder. Inside of it, it has week one. Inside of it, it has the folders, which contains my HTML files. Do not worry about the extensions that I have. I've just installed multiple things. You don't have to have the same layout in your Visual Studio Code. Okay. So let's say that we want to create a new file. Let's just make a new file like that, and let's just name it something like contact us, for example, .html. Okay, so you can do the same thing. You can write the tags, the opening tags, the closing tags, or you can just hit on HTML and choose the colon then 5, right? Something called an emit. Emit is something that auto-completes things for you, and it's really useful in Visual Studio Code. So click on this one, and it's going to open up the normal layout in your Visual Studio Code. Okay. And you have multiple meta tags. I said that I'm going to mention what does these do, so just ignore them for now. And you have the normal title inside your head or settings part, right? And this is the doc type that says that this is an HTML file of type HTML5, right? So we can just add an H1 like that, and let's just say website from Visual Studio Code, right? So if you want to host this, you have the traditional way as well of just right click on this one and go to or reveal in File Explorer, double click on this one, okay? And any changes that you're gonna make here, it's not going to reflect until you refresh the page. And we do not need that. We want something like the live server in Atom. So what do we do? First, let's go to the extensions and search for something called the live server. It's the same name, right? It happens that I've already installed this, so just you're gonna see install button, right? So install it, and it might ask you downside on the right, it might ask you to reload the interface. So either click on reload or close the Visual Studio Code entirely and open it again, right? And once you have the live server and you are inside your HTML page, you can see that there is something really tiny right there on the bottom. It's called go live. So if you click on go live, it's going to start the live server for you, right? And the same thing is going to apply. So let me just take this on the left, and if I added anything and I hit Control S, you're gonna see that the live server from Visual Studio Code is hearing your changes, right? But it is working on a port called 5500. We are going to take what does this port thing mean in more detail when we get to the PHP part. But for the time being, if you have anything on this port in your machine, if there's something that is being listened to on this port in your machine, then Visual Studio Code, the live server of Visual Studio Code might not work. So if this didn't work for you and it showed you something like this page cannot be reached or whatever, just contact me, and we're gonna see some way of killing the current port and freeing this port from being listened to, whatever it's listening to, okay? Or we can change the port from there. Anyways, this is the live server, the same thing from Visual Studio Code, okay? There is another thing that maybe you would want to install, a very useful extension. It's the same as the HTML preview. So we have the, what did we call it? It's called the HTML, yeah, it's called the live server preview. So the live server preview, it's the same as HTML preview in Atom, where you can, as you can see from the GIF right there, you can open up the HTML page embedded inside your browser, inside your editor. So I've installed this already, okay? So in order to know how this works, we can just go to our HTML page, right? And we can type Control-Shift-B, and we can just say show live server or show live server preview like this, okay? And it's going to open up on the side. So whenever you do any changes, it's just gonna listen to it like this, okay? And that's it, it's the same thing, okay? Finally, for anyone who is sticking to the standard theme of Visual Studio Code that I personally really despise, the Visual Studio Code theme is really unintuitive. It's not beautiful at all. And maybe you've noticed this. This is the Atom theme. Visual Studio Code here on my machine really looks similar to Atom. It's the same theme that I'm using. So in order to have Atom's theme, and that's a very good practice, by the way, because we are going to use some shortcuts that only are working in Atom. So even if you are working from Visual Studio Code and you have the Atom theme, we can line up together when we are working inside the lab. So if I told you to do something like Control-L to highlight a line, or Control-L multiple times to highlight multiple lines, this works in Atom perfectly, but it might not work in Visual Studio Code unless you have the Atom theme in Visual Studio Code. So in order to install the Atom theme, you can just click on this gear button right there and click on color theme, right? You can see that mine currently is Atom 1 Dark, right? So you can just search for Atom 1 Dark. You wouldn't find it if you didn't install it. So if you didn't find it, just hit install additional color themes and search for Atom 1 Dark. This is the theme that I'm talking about. Install Atom 1 Dark theme, install it, and maybe you can set it as the color theme, okay? And you're gonna see that it has, the theme will change automatically, right? If it didn't, just go, after you install it, just go to the color theme and pick Atom 1 Dark. Just type Atom 1 Dark like that, right? Okay, so that's one. If you are wondering why do my files look like this, because I have installed a file icon theme, and it's the same thing as the color theme, right? So the file icon theme can be found from there, okay? So right click on this one. I've installed something called the material icon theme, okay? You have multiple icon themes, by the way, if you just navigate like that. But I like the material icon theme the most. If you do not find the material icon theme, just go to install this one and search for material icon theme, okay? I've installed this already. So install it and set it as your icon, your file icon theme, and you should see the changes looking like mine, exactly, okay?